I think so often we forget the importance of creating that space that inspires men to come towards us and move towards us. When I look at my clients in Elevate, they are so eager and so engaging on online dating apps and in the conversations that it literally does not leave any room for mystery, for intrigue, for a man wondering, does she like me? Is she interested in me? Will she go out with me? I think sometimes we make it so easy for men that we forget that the masculine instinct is inspired by challenge, it's inspired by competition, it's inspired by our ability to keep the game and the seduction on. Now, I totally get it if there's a part of you that is going, oh my God, Sammy, that sounds like game playing and that sounds like so many things to do all in one go. I don't think I'll ever be able to get to that point and to be able to do all of these things authentically. And I totally get it. But if you've done my programs, you know I talk about the importance of warmth and distance in early dating and also within relationships, because whether it's dating or you are in a long-term relationship, I think the important thing is to remember that men's instincts don't really change. If he desired you and you were a challenge in the beginning of dating, he's still going to appreciate you being a challenge within the relationship. It's just that when you're in a long term relationship, these things come far more naturally for a woman who's embodied in her feminine. And in early dating, you might have to like think about it and be more intentional in how you're showing up. So let's go back to the importance of warmth and distance in engaging with men. And what I find so often is that women tend to swing between extremes, okay, on the pendulum. So either we'll have a woman who is so warm and so available and so nourishing to the masculine that she will leave no room for a challenge. She will leave no space for him to wonder, does she or does she not like me? You know, should I ask her out? Like, do I have a chance to win here? Like, it's so clear she likes me, and it's so clear that if I wanted to, take her out, she would just say yes in an instant. And then I find women who are so closed off and who are not playful at all, not nourishing at all. The texts are really flat and boring and businesslike. And here you are not creating the experience of warmth for the masculine, and you are just creating the experience of distance. But the true winning formula, if you want to attract embodied masculine energy men, the kind of men who will come for you, do things, bring you flowers, organize dates, tell you you're looking amazing, these men need the combination of both these elements, both these attributes, warmth and distance. So let's look at what warmth ideally should look like, and then let's talk a little bit about distance, because I think when I look at how noisy the love coaching industry and the dating coaching industry is, it can often make us women feel like this is endless, I can never get it right, it is just too much information, too many to-dos. And if you feel this way, I don't blame you. And I just want to remind you that if you find yourself being too warm or if you find yourself being too distant, it's not your fault. Usually the way we're showing up in dating or even within our relationships is a result of the many experiences we've gathered in our childhood, in our teenage years, even in our adult life. And mostly the behaviors we're showing, whether we're too far out on the warmth pendulum or too far out on the distance pendulum, mostly these are coping mechanisms that we're showing. So if we're too nice, we are too eager, we are not leaving any space for the man to, step up, then it's a coping mechanism. Maybe we have learned as a little girl that, it is this niceness and it is this, making sure that people feel good around you that is going to make you win with people. And so this is your coping mechanism. You want to be liked. And so you're extra nice, extra warm, extra everything. Or if you're extra distant, maybe you've had your heart hurt. Maybe when you've expressed emotions or shared feelings, they have not been received well. You have felt like you had gotten attached too much, whereas the man or the other party wasn't that involved and wasn't paying you that much attention. And so all I want to say is that it's not your fault. None of this is your fault. And I always invite all my clients, and I've worked with thousands of women at this point, been doing this work as a dating and relationship coach for ambitious women for nearly a decade, been interviewed on Times and Forbes magazines. So you know that, I know what I'm talking about. And I can tell you that the work becomes so much more fun and so much more rewarding when you stop judging yourself and you stop being hard on yourself, and you just get excited to learn about yourself. You get curious. You go like, oh wow, I've actually been too nice, or oh wow, I've actually been really distant. This is interesting for me. And now I'm curious, not why I am this way, because that would again mean that something's wrong with you, but what happened to me? What led me to, start behaving in these ways? Okay, so let's look at warmth and distance, the combination. I'm going to give you some examples now from my clients, especially from Leap Into Love and Elevate. Warmth is just feminine emotion. When somebody's nice to you, you don't just want to say thank you. You want to say, thank you, that feels really good. Thank you for making this effort for me. Warmth is feminine emotion, the expression of vulnerability. Vulnerability is not necessarily always only anything bad or negative. It can also be playfulness, it can also be joy, it can also be flirting, right? So all of these things are warmth. Now, when a guy reaches out to you, or your boyfriend or husband is sending you a text, you could of course respond in a very flat and boring and business-like way. Or you could use that opportunity to actually connect with your person, connect with your man, connect with your boyfriend, connect with your Tinder date or Bumble date, right? And you could use warmth as a major tool to make a man feel something positive about the conversation with you. Now, in Leap Into Love, in the online dating module, where we help single women master online dating and how they're showing up and how to attract better quality men and have better quality conversations online, I explicitly talk about the purpose of texting and chatting online is to feel a positive emotional response towards someone, right? Otherwise, you're just a pretty face in a sea of many pretty faces. And if you want to differentiate yourself in a high caliber man's mind and a masculine man's mind, if you want to stand out amongst all those pretty faces, you've got to know how to talk with embodied feminine warmth in order to elicit a great positive response for him that is going to make him remember you. And when he remembers you, he's going to come back and have more conversation. And when he comes back and has more conversation, that is when you can draw a boundary. Boundaries are a great example of distance, by the way. And you can say, I'm not big into texting. I'd much rather see you in person. And let me know when you have a plan. And that's the test for the masculine to rise up. You've created the space, you've drawn a boundary, example of distance, and that creates the inspiration or the push a man needs in order to ask you out. Now, another example of warmth could be when a man shares something hard, instead of saying, oh, I also had the same experience, you can just go, oh, that sounds hard. So just being empathetic, is a feminine quality. It's a very nourishing quality. It's a very nurturing quality. And men love that. Men appreciate that. I remember my Leap Into Love client feeling like, she had to fix a man's problem when he shared about the issue with the job market, and like him having had a great job at a consultancy, making multi-six figures during the COVID lockdown, losing all of that and feeling like he had to build all of it again. And when she shared that with us, she said, I felt like I had to introduce him to my boss and, maybe help him get a job and make an introduction. And I was like, no, you just have to be empathetic. You just have to say, oh, that sounds hard, and I trust you to figure this out. I know you'll do this. I know you'll find your way. So often this warmth and this empathy is forgotten. And I think if we can just tune into that, the masculine really loves that. It loves that sweetness. It loves that softness. Now, of course, we can overdo warmth and we can overdo distance, but I'll come back to both of these overdoing aspects perhaps in another video. But for today now, I want to give you more examples of what distance looks like and how much the masculine needs that. So let's just say you're single and you haven't heard from this great guy that you had a great date with. Now you're a human, you obviously like him, you find him attractive, you thought you guys had a great time, and now your inner feminine is feeling restless because the man has not offered his masculine to you and you haven't heard him and there's no sign of a second date. Now in this case, maintaining distance is what is required, and yet so many amazing women I work with who are in the Sami Wunder world, learning about feminine energy, learning about how to attract high quality empowered masculine men, and learning about how to, keep the spark and the flame alive in their long-term relationships. So many of us think we know feminine energy, but in these tricky moments when he hasn't reached out, when he hasn't done what he said he would, there is a tendency to go into your masculine, right? And so you ditch the distance instead of holding it, and then you reach out, you get into your masculine, and this kills desire, this kills attraction, this kills that space that is needed by the masculine to step up for you and do stuff for you. So my recommendation is to never forget the distance part. You're always remembering the warmth part, but if you're forgetting the distance part, that distance part is also equally important to sustain and to hold in order to keep inspiring the masculine to move towards you. Now, distance also looks like boundaries, as I already mentioned in the video. Boundaries are really just that element that men need. They need that challenge. They need you to speak your mind. They need you to say, I do not let men into my house after the first date. I like to take it slow. Can we please take it slow? Can you please pick me up? Can you please travel to my side of the town? Distance is the part of challenge that a masculine man needs. And if you're too nice, if you're too much in the warmth and not enough in the distance, you will find that your dates trickle out, the sex gets less frequent in your relationship simply because you are forgetting to create the challenge element in your relationship. So, warmth and distance, challenge is a part of distance. If this was helpful for you, remember to give the video a like, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment. I love hearing from you lovely divas, and I do my best to get back to your comments personally. So, see you soon and lots of love.